Hiya. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming and joining us in the Taste Cafe today, for all of you that are here, and also for all of you that are watching somewhere else in the organisation. Hello. My name is Vitty. I work in the Talent Liaison department. I'm talent consultant here at Cancer Research UK, working across events for the Bobby Moore Fund and Cancer Research UK as a whole. I used to work for BBC Radio 1. I still do bits and bobs of work for Radio 5 Live, and that's how I first came across our special guest speaker today. I was in the car driving to go and do Richard Bacon's show, and he had a special guest on that day who instantly captured my attention, and I thought, this is amazing. And this particular guest, this particular character, had a unique ability to make me laugh one minute and then bring me to tears the next. I had about 20 minutes to go on my journey that day, and then I sat in the car park about another 25 minutes because I couldn't get out of the car because it was just such an engaging listen. And the subject matter was such that I thought at that moment, I have to work out a way of getting this gentleman down to come and speak for all of us here. And so I did, basically. And today is that day. So it's my great pleasure to welcome on stage here at Cancer Research UK headquarters in Angel, Mr. Steve Evans.
I am the man from the council. For 32 years, I worked for the council. I knew not of travelling to the London. I live in a place where this is not an accent. That's right, my friend, Kent. No, Wolverhampton. You might have heard of Wolverhampton. It's a small fishing village just north of Birmingham. What's the joke? Not twinned with anywhere, but it does have a suicide pact with Dudley. It's perfectly true. So, this is called the Chasm of Death. And what it is, it's the amount of space that the audience feel is necessary. And at the moment, you could go on holiday here, mate. You could have a small music festival. So, without you misunderstanding it, and I'll speak as slowly as possible, and I am picking on you, mate, because I'm sure you're someone who's used to it. I would like you to just come a little bit farther forward. That's you, mate. The one who's looking a little bit scared, and so you should be. And the people, you're looking down at the floor. Are you Inspector of Tiles? You can come forward as well. This is lovely. No, I won't even refer to you. I won't even refer to you. But if you don't move forward, you will be on the floor face down. Because they will. No, you stay there. And when someone comes behind you and does that, that's your cue to move. Right, if you can move forward as well. Don't worry, I know what you're thinking. Down here, this possibly constitutes engagement. No. Oh, and you've just moved forward because you didn't want me talking to you. That can happen. So, yes, I'm the man from the council. And they said, you can do it, Steve. You can do it. Dave wanted to do it, but they said, you can do it. And I said, are you sure I can do it? They said, yes. And my heart soared. Because when you work for the council, there's one thing you love doing more than anything else, and that's the fire safety message. The fire safety message that is auditable, that should be done without any humour at all. They tell you that if there's a fire, you must be aware that today there is not a drill planned. So if the alarm goes off, you will be able to tell it's real. Because you will look at the people behind you in yellow high-vis vests. And you will know that it's real because they've never done it for real and will look absolutely terrified. The simple warning is follow them because they've all been on the course and they know how to get out. So if there's anyone who's very slow, I'd be close to them now, to be perfectly honest. So I think that's the safety message. And now you're as near to an audience. You're all standing. This lasts half an hour, although it may seem considerably longer. But if I had to guess, I would say every one of you here. Let me look at your lovely faces. No, it's not stalking. Too many people here. Just the two of us. Different thing. Just pointing it out, and don't think you've got away, my friend, who's taken your jacket off and got your collar open, who's already been told off for having their stool too near to the artwork. Yes, just cut you at the back, mate. I've got you. It'll be fine. Yes. So, thank you for coming. This does last half an hour, and I can only presume that every one of you is still clocked in. I thought I got that right. So, yes, I'm supposed to talk to you about my journey. I've started off, and there's one or two of you have smiled. A few of you have tried out laughing. You're experiencing wind, my friend, and that's perfectly all right. What can you do? Do you know, I don't think there's anyone in here apart from the bloke at the back called Ian who's actually older than my shoes. It's disappointing, that is. So, yes, thank you. On behalf of everyone who's got cancer, thank you. Now, what will happen in this, there will be jokes. So do laugh if it sounds absurd. Otherwise, I'm dying on what they call, technically, my arse. And that's uncomfortable. In fact, that probably would upset me more than the condition that I've got, which is illogical, but perfectly true. Were you starting to nod off standing up? That's something of a skill, young person, isn't it? And you know, when you're asked your 25-year-old daughter who's previously asked you for money and you've said you haven't got one, when you ask her to pack you a flannel to use on stage, always be aware that she's not annoyed, because you never know what you'll end up with, that's all I'm saying. Not good. So, yes, on behalf of everyone with cancer, and I'll refer to cancer as condition quite a bit, because someone who uses that word continually, to be perfectly honest, it's okay when you've got to hear it, but I've got it. So, you know, it gets a bit annoying. Thank you. Thank you for existing. Because the reality is, until you work here, you don't know what you do. So the first thing to say is that please be the best adverts for what you do, because without you, I wouldn't be here. I know that's a lot of convoluted words, but I was on a trial called Reel 3. Oh, wait till we get with that, mate. It goes downhill terribly. It involves nearly dying. There's a vicar. There's holding hands. And at that point, I'll be looking across with me hanky, because if you're not crying, you're simply not listening. Anyway. So, I was a decent person, trundling through life, and I'll tell you something about my complicated love life. I'm looking at you because, well, to be perfectly honest, someone needs to be picked on what have the others done to me? I don't know what you've done to me, but it doesn't matter. No, anyway, yes, my complicated love life. In 1978, I met a woman called Septina, and, no, that's it. That is it, basically. We've been married 28 years on the 21st of September, and I don't know how complicated your private lives are, but that's mine. That's it. In 1985, we got married. In 1987, we had our first child, and apparently I was very happy about that. I don't know. And in 1992, we planned to have a child, but we actually had the Antichrist. I think if we'd have had well, you know what I'm saying. We might have ended up as a one-child family. If you're listening or watching this at some point in the future, Lauren, one all. Right. Yes. So, when was it? It must have been sometime. Yes, August 2011. I was, I'm going to skip stuff. So, my life involves a number of fractions. I am a man from the council, and I had some hobbies. The hobbies started with being a magician and being a stand-up, and that was round about 25 years ago. And then from that, I got involved in, due to being a building surveyor for the city council, I was the chief building surveyor. I just thought I'd throw that in, because I'm very proud of that, mate. I am, in fact, a building surveyor, but I won't use that, because you can put chief in front of it. It's like fire officer. I'm the chief fire officer. It's like man with a high-vis vest. Well, anyway. Now, just a bit of fun, mate. You are a long way back. right along my back. And thank you for being here. Anyway, yes. So, I did these other things, and one of the other things was managing at music festivals. And what's the joke? He'll never sell ice creams at that speed. Moving on. That's all I could come up with. It wasn't even my gag. So, what happened was this. Kanye West, indeed. I was at Big Chill Festival on the Saturday night, and Kanye West was the headline act. And may I say, it was somewhat of a disappointment. And as I was walking to see Kanye West, I got breathless. So I phoned up our Septina and I said, I'm breathless. So I went home, went to the doctor, and he said, he examined me, and he came to this conclusion. You're unfit and 50. So I thought, thanks for that. I could have told you that. And I don't even have a stethoscope. So, this is the person I now am. Now, it could be any one of you or any one of the people you know. I've changed. That's the first thing. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm breathless now. So I have a blood test. And the blood test's okay. Because the blood test just says, I've got anemia. I'm anemic. And I don't know what that means, but my wife does, because she knows everything. And you'll learn that, as I have, over the years, as we go on. So I had a blood test. That's what they told me. Back to the doctors, he said, well, you need to have an endoscopy. Because you are anemic, but we don't know where the blood's going. But it's probably an ulcer. Because let's face it, remember I've already described that I'm like you. I'm a decent person. So I'm going to have nothing seriously wrong, young Jedi. I'm going to have nothing seriously wrong. So I went to the hospital to have an endoscopy procedure, and this is the first learning part of the lecture. That's why it's not a stand-up, it's lecture. That's why it's tax deductible. And possibly goes towards your CPD. Some of you going, what on earth's that? Work for the council and you'll find out. Continuing professional development. I remember it all. Now, if in your lives you ever get the circumstances where you have an endoscopy is a camera down the throat, let me explain this very simply. Insist on sedative as much as you can have without suffering brain damage. Because an endoscopy is a camera down the throat, which isn't a natural thing to have, because you've got a gag reflex. The woman, the specialist nurse, who happened to be a woman, Sarah, she was going, you're doing very well. Doing very well. I was lying on my side with a camera down my throat and a big thing that stopped me biting it in half. All I was doing was gagging, and then she needed to clear some food out of the way. So it was okay, because she used air. It was like something out of Alien. It just came out like this. I was, oh no, you're not liking the description. You've got to understand, pal. It was me it was happening to. Yeah? Share my pain. Then, halfway through the procedure, she said this. Biopsy. Indeed. And I thought, is that generic? Yes, it is. It is, my friend, who must be used to being picked on. It is. I haven't forgot you, don't worry. There's two of you, and I've got the man at the back. I can deal with all three. And he's got his minder. Probably a poor choice, but it'll be all right. I'll build him up. Now, make him feel safer. So, I'd only got an ulcer. I was going to have a month off. So we went to her office, and let's speed this up a bit. Because when I was on the gurney going out of the room, I said, is a biopsy just relevant to cancer? And she said, this isn't a conversation for this room. And I thought, oh dear, only not in quite so many words. I know. So we get into her office and she says, I'm terribly sorry. You've got a tumour. And I thought, oh dear. And my wife was outside. And she said, do you want your wife to come in? And I said, no. I said, if anyone's going to hit my delicate flower with a shovel, it's going to be me. So I went and got her. And I gave her a hanky and sat her down. And I didn't start crying until I realised I then got to go home and tell my daughter that her dad had got cancer. But at this time, and I use these words relevant to me, but please hold them as a point of reference. I'm going to use the word only. At this point, I only thought I had cancer. Because a little while later, just a few days, they then put you on a track that takes you through another procedure, which is a CT scan. And after the CT scan, this is dark for about another minute. And then I meet someone and it picks up a bit. There's a gag then. We can always come to him if we need humour. I haven't forgot you, son. You may be beyond help. It's only a snap assessment, but all the people who came in with him, they're all nodding, so I'm going with them. So you then have a second consultation, because I've got a tumour in my stomach. But then she said this. She said, we've got some bad news. And the only thing that I could think of was that she'd got a use of tenses wrong, because she'd already given me the bad news. But the bad news was that I've got what's called a T4 metastatic gastric tumour that's gone through the wall of my stomach and attached itself by pure fluke to something called a pancreas, which is basically not good. And she said, I'm terribly sorry, we can't operate. The treatment is only palatable. And that meant I was going to die. Before, I only thought I'd got cancer. Now, it's really serious. My other daughter was on her holidays when we found out, and now she's back and she's in the room. We had 4 days together. 4 days when we'd only had dark information, negative. I only thought I got an ulcer. I thought I'd got an allergic reaction to Carnier West, to be perfectly honest. But now I'm going to die. So I said to her, what everyone in this room, if you have a private thought at this moment, and please don't share this, what would you say to her? And I'll read every one of your minds, and I don't want you to even react, how long have I got? That's what's in every one of your minds at the moment. And she wouldn't tell me. She just said, you'll go on a course of chemotherapy. Without chemotherapy, you've got weeks to live. We had 4 days. And after that 4 days, they arranged for us to have a consultation with our lead consultant. It's been a bit longer than a minute. But I said, oh, there you are. Been longer than a minute, but we're there now. With my lead consultant. And that day, everything changed. Because they told me that my lead oncology consultant was a man called Professor Ferry. And you know, when I heard that was his name, I really hoped his first name was Brian. And it turned out to be David. But this was the deal. Oh no. But this was the deal. I've got friends who live of these parts. They weren't happy that I was receiving treatment in Wolverhampton, or as it's referred to in the London 1937. No. They said you need a second opinion. So Septina, because we're the only one in our street with a computer, she Googled Professor David Ferry and found out he was one of the world's leading authorities on keeping people with stomach cancer alive. And you know the first thing she said? What's he doing in Wolverhampton? I don't know why he's here, she said. I said, well, it might be that he's been sent by someone just to look after me. And she thought about it for a second and went, nah. So, you go and see the prof, and he said, I said, how long have I got? And he said, a year. And we all said, we'd settle for that, because we thought we'd got 2 weeks. And he must have looked at us as we were all celebrating what we thought was a lottery win with the facial expressions of a man who I've got thinking, I've got a right one here. And he had. So, he then told us about a trial funded by your wonderful organisation called Real 3. I'll come on to that. Chemotherapy started and everything was fine. Because I've got a year to live. At least. Nothing can happen in chemotherapy. I didn't even know what a gastrointestinal bleed was. Who does? Ha ha! You do when you've got one. That's a very quick way of finding out. I was poorly. Went to the local hospital. My treatment centre is in Dudley. Local hospital, which we now are, which is in Wolverhampton. They said, you're all right, mate. There's nothing wrong with you, even though you can't stand. Bit of a clue. You can go home. Now, I'm a bloke from the north, sort of. And this is how the dynamic works. It's very sexist, but this is how it works. I'm at home now, and getting out of bed in the first place, not being able to walk, and having two people in a paramedic thing that were more like the Chuckle Brothers, take you downstairs, nearly throw you to the floor and all the rest of it. I don't want to experience that again. So I'm lying in bed, and I can't move, because I've been discharged from hospital, but I can't move, but I'm fine. Because I feel lovely. I feel so tired, but I can feel the sheets against my face, and it was the most beautiful thing that I just felt so comfortable. And then I vomited blood. Now, Septina said, vomited blood, you're going back to hospital. Not with the Chuckle Brothers, I'm not, I said. And remember, I'm from the north, so what I say goes. Please? No. It is said for effect, no spitting. I then revert to the alpha male approach of crying like a child who's been told Christmas has been cancelled and putting a pillow over his head. Of course, I find that always works, mate. You might want to make notes at this point. You thought you got away, hadn't you? No. So, I'm crying under the pillow. I take up the pillow and say to my wife, oh, you're still here? And she said yes, and I've also called an ambulance. Hadn't taken any notice of me at all. Now, that's got a name. It's a name that the hospital give it, or the oncologists give it because they've said it before. And it's meant to be offensive. And it's called little woman syndrome. It's meant to be offensive. And what it is this. The man says, I'm staying in bed. I'm not going anywhere. And the partner person, the woman, she says, well, all right, but I don't care what you say. In the morning, if you're still like that, you're going to hospital. If that had have happened with me, in the morning, I'd have been dead. I never would have woke up. Because that sleep that I was really enjoying was all of my vital organs shutting down. So if you ever find yourself in that position, just be aware. Be in hospital. I don't care about the Chuckle Brothers, but that's where you need to be. So my wife saved my life. How cool is that? Yeah, she genuinely are indeed. So I bought her a car. I thought it's all I could do, really. So I bought her an Audi A3, a proper one, like the sporty one. But to be honest, she doesn't get on with it that well because the reverse is in the wrong place. So all I'm saying is if there's someone from Audi watching, you're spoiling the ship for a hape of the tar. That's all I'm saying. It's in the wrong place. It's on the wrong side. The title for this, which was basically me taking the mick, is Nearly Dying. Not the end of the world, but you can't see it from there. Yes. What's it like? I don't know if you've ever had anyone stand in front of you and tell you what it's like to nearly die. So let me give it some context. If you've ever had a heart attack and they've brought you back from the brink and you were unconscious, that's very serious. But I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about me. If you nearly stepped out in front of a bus and were pulled back, That's quite serious. But that's not me. I went to hospital, and we had a junior doctor who was quite young, about 9. Might have been younger. And he said, "You're bleeding from inside, mate, and not in a good way." I know. Oh, well, thanks for clarifying that. I said, "Well, I don't really care. I'm in hospital. You'll mend me, won't you?" And he just looked at me and went, "Mend you? Yeah, let's do that then." He wasn't convincing. He wasn't convincing. He said, "'Cause it could be a blood vessel, and we ain't mending that. Ooh, time for me break." And off he went. So, I wasn't aware it was that bad. Septina, because this was late at night, she'd gone home, and then another doctor came in and said, "Do you think your wife would like to be with you?" And being a very sharp man, I said, "Have you met her? She's only just gone home. You'll be waking her from deep sleep." I wouldn't have thought so. A couple of minutes later, she came back in, the same doctor, and said, "I think your wife would like to be with you, you know." And I said, "I'll refer you to the answer I gave previously. I don't think she will at all." And when she said it the third time, the penny dropped. She was wanting my wife to be with me because I was dying. They had no control. So that's what nearly dying's like. I'll tell you what it's like. "You okay? I've got hankies." "Oh, you're getting hot." "Oh, no. You can be fanned." "If you're going to walk out, do it from the front. It'll take at least 10 minutes off what I've got to say, and I must move on because I've got lots to cover in about 5 minutes to do so." "I know, I've watched myself, 5 minutes, and you can all relax." "Oh no, another half an hour, but I'll get to sit down." Yes. So what happened was this. Septina came back in, and during that period, I had the most illogical of experiences where I was just concerned the fact that I was probably going to die. The odds were about 20%, 15% of me surviving. And my only thought was that my study was a mess and I'd put nothing in place for my family. And my life's quite complex, you know, there's lots in it. And Sepp would have to sort it all out. And that was the illogical thought. And we got better. You know, I've got something called a Dulafoy lesion. If you want to cause upset amongst friends, all you need to do is Google image search Dulafoy lesion. Don't look at the pictures yourself, and then just show them to a friend as they're eating, and then video the response. Projectile vomiting, I believe it's called. It's a thing you want to see. So yes, so we got better. And then we went through treatments, and they said, "You'll never bleed again, don't worry." The professor came to see me and to thank Septina. And this was the day after the first bleed, because she kept me alive. And he said, "No, it's nothing to do with the chemotherapy." So we had more treatment, and I bled again. And he went, no, I'm sure everyone else just wanted to let me float away, but he had such faith, such confidence. And on New Year's Eve, I bled again. This was 2011. It all got too much. But by that time, we're into the good news territory because we'd suffered enough and the tumour had shrunk. And that took us through 2012 in remission. And then at the end of 2012, we started another treatment, a second-line treatment, which actually started in March of this year, which was Taxotere. And the side effects of chemotherapy, for anyone who knows, are wonderful. You have pins and needles like you wouldn't believe. And you have wee, the colour of iron brew. I said that to my mate John. I said, "I've got wee, the colour of iron brew." And he said, "Does it taste like it?" I know. I've still got the text. So, as we come to the end of this, I'm now standing before you after 2 lines of treatment and a Real 3 trial. The Real 3 trial was a blind trial where they used an antibody called pantimumab to attach itself to the surface of cancer cells. And the idea was this, for all of those of you that are scientifically minded, the average longevity index for what I've got is 11.2 months. They wanted to extend it to 15.3 months, give you extra 3 months. So when they offered me the trial, I simply said, where do I sign? That's all I said. And unfortunately, panitumumab, there's a technical word for this, didn't work. Oh dear. It actually reduced life expectancy from 11.2 to 8.6. So to use loose language, it was killing people. But I wasn't having the drug because I was on the blind thing. So, oh no. So when they initially told us I wasn't having the drug, I was furious. Until the nurse standing behind the doctor mouthed, killing people. And then I was as happy as Larry. So I am actually 300 people. It's a lot, isn't it, 300 people? Might say 200. But it seems to be a lot. You can't see them, can you? So how do I finish this before we go into the Q&A? Please ask questions. Lots and lots of questions. How I finish this is this. People who have got cancer, I can't really greatly speak for because although I've got cancer, I look upon the cancer more as a job. It isn't meant to be a joke. I've got to manage my cancer to stay alive. It's the other thing that's disappointing. I'm not battling cancer. I'm trying to stay here. So the fact that it's cancer isn't really overly relevant. It could be anything. It just happens to be cancer. So the only reason I'm here is because of all the people around me. Now, if I was to, and please, I don't want even to see facial expressions for this. This is purely for inside your heads. To ask you how many of you have had cancer, there may be some of you are fellow cancerous sufferers, and there may be people here other than me that are life limited. There may be. But I tell you what gets everyone to put their hand up, and there is no hands. There is no hands. This is purely inside your head. Everyone who's been touched by cancer, regardless of working here, that's every one of you. I can guarantee it. There is no one here who hasn't experienced cancer in some way. And the importance of you, all of you people who support those with cancer, is the real reason that I'm standing here now. If this becomes recorded and used in any way, the message is very simple. I am on the Twitter. I know. Who knew? I've even got what's it called? A Twitter name, is it? Feed? Help me here, people. Don't leave me floundering. You know you'll suffer. So I've got a Twitter thing, which is @SteveEvans51. And the world can contact me, and does. And some of it has cancer, and some of it's touched by cancer, and it's all very private, because I immediately go onto the old following them private message thing. And there's people tell me the same things. They have people in their family who've got cancer, and everything focuses on them, which is fine. And often, that person can't articulate what they want, so they don't talk about it. So you'll never know how much that person is suffering, the person with cancer. But all the people around them, they're suffering terribly. And a lot of people with cancer suffer in neurological guilt. And it's created by the pain we are creating in those we love. Because they were all just skipping along happily. When I was told, when I was diagnosed, there's a lot of people in our lives, in Sepp and I's lives. So what we wanted to do was tell them. And it was so hard to tell one person. So what I thought was, I'll tell one person, and they can tell everyone else. You can see where this is going to end, can't you? How ignorant was I? So I picked my mate, who's a magician, and been a magician with me for a long time. We got him round the house, and basically said, I'm not as well as I might be. And I'm not getting any better. Can you please go and tell everyone else in the world of magic? Tick, we'll now move on to the civic halls. I didn't get to the tick because I broke his heart. I don't know if you've ever done that outside of a relationship, but it's a bugger. So, what has he done to deserve that. 2 hours we were dealing with it. We had to send out for food. You know? So I thought, well, what are the odds of finding the one friend who's a bit touchy? But it'll be all right, I've got another friend. He works somewhere else. I'll go and tell him tomorrow. We won't have this problem again. Oh, yes, we did. Broke his heart as well. The shock of finding out how much love I'd got around me. Sep's here, so I can't really say anything that isn't 100% true. Well, you know, she'll tut and you'll hear it. And we had a retirement due from the civic hall, from the council, and 400 people came. 400 people came. And they had to put the speeches back because the mayor was late. I know, I'm not making it up. You're listening to it. It happened to me. So the message from this last bit as I finish is this. You work in cancer research. You are invaluable, and we all say thank you. As individual people, be aware of this one thing. If you're ever touched by cancer, it is perfectly all right to tell the person who's got cancer off. They're not untouchable. It's perfectly all right to tell them what they need to know, because they might not know. Because it is obvious, and no sarcastic response or comment when I say there is no training for one day being told you are terminally ill. And if you want to know what it's like, I'll tell you, it's terrifying. Terrifying all of the time. You imagine having a person with a gun pointed at the side of your head. Imagine it. And then think of one thing. He's not speaking to you. He's not talking to you. You can't even see any detail, but he's there. How long's the terror going to last? Because he's not shot you. Does it last 10 minutes? Does it last 20 minutes? When do you stop pleading? Because you're going to need to go to the toilet. Aren't you? There's food to eat. I've got people to disappoint. But you've got this with you all the time. So having cancer is one thing, and each person's journey is different. But being terminally ill is not nice at all. Not nice at all. And if you're in the company of someone, or if you know someone who is, you make sure they know that you're there for them. And you make sure that they understand how important you know you are. Because there is one thing that is certain. I don't know any of you, but without all of you and versions of you, I wouldn't be here or even in Wolverhampton. It's been lovely spending time with you. Thank you ever so much, and I shall stay here now. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Evans.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Oh, a standing ovation. Gosh, you should all sit. I'm tempted to say we only lost 3. But when you're talking to a terminally ill bloke, it's a bad phrase to use, to be perfectly honest. We've only lost. I'm going to... is it all right if I have the stool up here?
You sit down.
Well, I'll have the stool up here.
Okay. I told you it'd be a roller coaster of emotions, didn't I, today? And it certainly was. So
let me help you with that.
Do that, because I've got a microphone to use.
One of us is physically fit. The other
we
one is Dave Vitty.
About 20 minutes, I think, before we have to... Are we wrapping up at 5? Yeah, so 20 minutes, which means Q&A time. So you can... I spoke to Steve about this before. We had lunch together, and you can ask him anything you want him to, and you will, as you probably gathered by now, you will get an answer. I mean, that's to put it mildly.
So
you
be
will,
prepared for that.
You will get an answer. So if anybody would like to start off with the Q&A. Anybody got a question? Stick your hand up.
I think I've created a dynamic... have we got... Yes,
we have got a question.
No,
okay.
We've created a dynamic where people are just thinking, oh, he's picked on those blokes for no apparent reason. But you'll notice nothing actually happened. It just stopped... Oh, no, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. It just stops other people.
Oh, there's another one gone.
Have we done the risk assessment for this gig? To be perfectly honest. I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable.
We have a question. The lady with the glasses over there.
Hi,
Yes.
Steve.
And the microphone. Hello.
Hello. I'm Helen. Thank you very much for coming along and speaking to us today. I guess thinking about your journey and all your experiences in the hospitals and the conversations that you had, what was the most helpful thing that a doctor said to you, and what was perhaps the least helpful for you?
I don't know.
Sorry, that's a
No,
really
no.
hard question.
If I just have 10 seconds, I'll think about it. Everything you are told is meant well. The problem you have is contextualising it. So you'll get a piece of information, and it won't have any context for another year. So we were told that chemotherapy could be repeated after 2 years, but what they meant was the type of chemotherapy could be repeated after 2 years. So we get useful information all the time. I always see the positive, and I look upon my relationship with my clinicians as being a professional one. The prof and me are mates, basically, now. And he isn't of this world. Every time you go to one of his consultations, you will see a strange item of furniture. It's an office piece of furniture, but it has a similarity of something you will all have at home, a wardrobe. And the reason that he has the wardrobe is that when he's finished his consultation at the end of the day, he doesn't go to the car park like everyone else. He simply walks through the back of the wardrobe. Because he lives in Narnia. He's not of this world. Some of the things he says, would offend people in the 1970s. Fabulous. But he's the only reason I'm here. Long answer. But yes, I filter out the rubbish because you can't let it in. You know. Okay?
Another question. Anybody over this side of the room? Hands in the air, please. And somebody with a microphone will find you.
Oh, we need to line these up. I mean, there's so many things. Where do you go for your holidays?
What's your favourite colour?
What's your favourite colour?
Do you prefer dogs or cats?
Is Wolverhampton really pre-war, you know?
We have a question from a lady at the back there. Yes.
Hi, what's life like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Fabulous. I'll qualify that. I'm never unhappy. I'm scared, and I get annoyed sometimes. And I had blood this week, and I was by myself. And it took that long. There was no one else in the day case unit. There was just me. And I got really scared. I get scared a lot. But life is... the council retired me when... I've been with the council 32 years. So there is no negative in my story. And there's lots of detail we didn't get time to cover. I am so blessed and lucky because I don't have the having to work thing. As soon as I had the first bleed, Seb phoned the council. Now, I've been there 32 years, so without wishing for you to misunderstand it, my mates run it. I don't run it, but we've been there for 32 years. You either are the chief building surveyor. Did I mention that, mate, before? I'd have been proud of it. Member of the society, I've got a card. Chief building surveyor. And within 24 hours, to protect the family financially, I was retired, as if I was 65. So we have projects. We make going to buy a plant for the garden a project. You know, and we just fill our days. The days fill themselves. We do this. We are accessible. We come down and well, I'm not. See, I'm quite an attractive proposition as a speaker like this because we cost a fortune until we are retired under rules that say we're not allowed to actually earn money.
That's why we booked you.
Indeed, yes. Because you booked me after I pointed it out to you. I was aware of the dynamic, David. I really was. So, yes. So I am very accessible. Now, people can contact me through the Twitter with me 700 followers. 700 people get to hear what I think on a daily basis. How their lives must be enriched. what there must have been like before. So yes, again, another long answer, but that is what life is like. You know, it really is a great life. It's just not going to be that long.
Any more for any more? Yes, gentleman there, centre with the in the check shirt.
You can do whatever you like. He's very handsome, isn't he?
You can. Oh no, hang on. Look, you've got
that
you've
lady,
got amplification now.
That lady thought that such a handsome man might do the spitty thing.
It's very kind of you. I listened to the interview that you did on the Richard Bacon show, and I think like a lot of people who heard it would have been really inspired by what you said. Just wonder how you came to actually be on the show and how you found it. I, a long time ago, found myself being interviewed within condition, April 2012, by Stephen Nolan, so that put me into the BBC's database. Coming up to April of this year, there was a CDF funding issue where people were announcing that CDF, as you all know, changes in March next year, and there was the usual releases about the fact that people were going to have to, pay for their own treatment and what have you. So they phoned me up as they'd phoned many people, the BBC did, and just said, it was just a speech, it was just a script, I presume. Just so happens that they spoke to someone who was terminally ill, was in treatment, the treatment had been funded by the Cancer Drugs Fund, and without it, I would be dead. It was like all this person's birthdays and Christmases come together. Her entire day's job was done. Oh, sorry, mate. I was across your personals. So they said, "Will you be on the telly?" And I said, "When's that?" "In the morning." "Where will that be?" "Manchester." I said, "There's no way Septina will let me go to Manchester at all." I didn't mean for the telly. It's just not happening. Big roads and all sorts. No, it wasn't here. So they came to us. So they just interviewed me for 2 or 3 minutes. Louise Minchin had a chat. That was it, really. And I went fishing. Thought little of it. Because when you've got the enormity of the condition, you don't really... There's no nerves. Things change. The phone then started ringing. It was immediately Radio 5 Live. "Will you come on the Richard Bacon show?" And I said, "Why?" "What?" And they said, "Well, to talk about the..." I said, "What, again? Can't you just replay?" "No, Oh, great. So this morning, I got the opportunity to talk about dying. Really good. And then this afternoon, I've got a longer time to talk about it in more depth. Woo! Sorry about that. So I then went on to Richard's show. Richard is a very good broadcast journalist. And I was just me, really. Because if you've got the opportunity to be you, as you are before condition, I think a lot of people have. This is roughly what I was like before. Now, my material's just a damn sight darker. I don't do this in public gatherings, by the way. I don't do a magic trick and then finish by saying, "Right, anyway, before I finish, what it's like to nearly die." Now, they're going, "No, mate, just do another card trick." So, yes, then they wanted to stay in touch. Then Richard Bacon came around the house and we had a bit of a party. I went back and did the moaning. A guy from Western Supermare.
Taking my job, by the way, with that. You should
yes,
back off that one.
But if you think about it, it won't be for too long. I'd warned those, but I hadn't warned anyone over here. Over here we've got smiles. Those weren't too sure. Horror over here, just in case you... Horror over here. Did I tell you, first Christmas in condition, one of my mates who's a stand-up bought me a T-shirt and it just says, "Life imprisonment, no longer a deterrent." That sets the standard. Indeed. Because if you're not laughing now, you've missed the point of the last 50 minutes, to be honest. You're not laughing at, you're laughing with. And if I can't get laughs just because I'm ill, I mean, it's bad, isn't it?
I'd just like to add that first time on Richard Bacon's show, which is I happened to be listening, because I was on the way to the studios myself, and it was the first time I'd heard you speak. And I kid you not, because they were talking about, the whole topic was obviously about cancer drugs, etc., etc. And actually there was a lady from Cancer Research UK who was also a guest on the phone, who, I can't remember who it was, but... and then...
Lisa.
Was it Lisa, somebody?
Was it Emma?
Ah, okay. So technically it's your fault then. Yeah. And so I remember when he went to you, and I was convinced that they'd faded up the wrong person. You were on the phone, and I thought, oh God, they've gone and faded the wrong person up, because I was expecting
Not the taxi driver.
Exactly, and I thought I was expecting to hear somebody who sounded like a cancer patient, and you just came straight on.
That's got me attention.
Exactly, and I thought, oh, what's going on here? And then that was me hooked in completely, and it was because, you know, as we've discovered today, you're not your regular patient liaison.
Because she won't let me.
Well, because she won't let you do.
This is the best thing. Oh, when you're me, it's lovely. Because people haven't seen you for a while. And they come in and they don't know what to say. And that's fine. Because they know you're poorly. So this is what they get. Give me a second. Hello. All right. Good days, bad days. Could you pass me some water? I can't really move. Could you put it to my lips? I'm bored now. Right. Oh, can you imagine? My mate Shane, who's a big lad, he nearly beat my car up. He nearly beat my car up. He went, oh, like that. She was saying, you shouldn't do that to people. It's very funny. So, yes. So if any of you want it, like a version of a strippergram, you can have the terminally ill personogram. No, probably not then.
Do you want to hear, by the way, I was going to tell you this before over lunch. Do you want to hear what Richard Bacon said about you? He said nice things, actually, while we're on the subject of...
I don't do criticism.
I asked Richard for a little quote ahead of this. And granted, he didn't spend about that long on it, but it was quite nice. He goes, Steve is wise and funny and insightful and charismatic and sweet and silly and clever and eloquent, and despite his situation, incredibly life-affirming.
Well, that's lovely.
It's
But
nice,
it is a man who's just consulted a thesaurus.
Yeah. Next question. Any more for any more? We have about just over 5 minutes left, and then we can go to the pub. This question.
Did you nearly put your hand up, mate? Or was it just giving your pocket a rest? Are you sweating? Would you like to borrow Darth Maul?
Question from the lady at the front, yes, please.
I just wondered, given your experience of your clinical trial where you almost got the wrong drug, would you go on another trial?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Without Real 3, which was, in theory, killing people, you've got to understand that Pantimumab is a well-known antibody. And, you know, people are going to keep offering it forward. Well, this trial was essential for that to stop happening. But because of what it did, it actually stopped the effects of chemotherapy, which is just as important to know as actually speeding up the effects of chemotherapy, because anything that's got a relationship with chemotherapy is going to be useful at some time. And when we know more about the effect that it had on the growth receptors on the wall of the cells, then we'll be able to do more with it. But if we hadn't have done Real 3, we wouldn't be in that position. And why can I speak so technically knowledgeable about it? Because it's my condition. Now, you ask me a question generally, not a chance. Not a chance. My condition, I'm all right. I'm all right on my condition. So, yeah, very important trial. Yeah, and I would go on another one. But it's finding suitable trials. I was going to go on fish. You couldn't make this up, could you? I was going to go on this is real, right? But can you imagine being told this without the person thinking it was funny or even smirking, right? We want to put you on the fish trial. We need to assess your blood, right? And this was the response. Your fish scale is too low. Not so much as a smirk. I said, have you already died, mate? And she said, that's enough of that, don't go there. Are you already dead? He said, fish scale. He went, hey. I'm wasted on some of them, to be honest. When I have a consultation with a professor,
the doctors, and they're not junior doctors, they're proper doctors, but they're being trained by the bloke from Narnia. Now, they now have started, I kid you not, I'm not making this up, they have now started requesting coming in to my consultations. After about 2 minutes, they simply put their notepads away.
Can we do my bit that I've been waiting for?
He makes everything sound sordid, doesn't he? I've no idea what he means.
You promised me over lunch.
Is that a euphemism, mate?
No, it's not. It's not code. You promised me over lunch that before we all went home today, then you might do something special.
Yep, I'll finish with the magic trick now. Yeah, I know. Oh, hey, can you imagine doing it in the middle? People say, and you are a magician, aren't you, Steve? And I say, yes, I'm a magician, member of the Magic Circle. And they go, in your talk, could you do some magic? Can you imagine that? Fantastic. Right, so your card was the Four of Hearts. Yes, it was. And here I have in this envelope the Four of Hearts. Anyway, whilst I was nearly dying, no. It's not going to work. So doing it right at the end is a way of saying goodbye. Look upon it as an encore, really, to be perfectly honest, because I've got nowhere to go off or any confidence. So what happened earlier was that I did some card tricks for Dave. He's done nothing against me. I just thought I would.
This is in the Angel Cafe, by the way, earlier on.
And what I did when I finished off, I took the pack of cards and I reversed one card in the deck, yes, and I gave them to you and you put them in your pocket. Can you now take them out of your pocket? Please.
It's true, by the way. I've had them in my pocket the last 2 hours.
You'll be able to tell because they'll be all bent and sweaty.
There you go.
I wouldn't like to have been in your pocket for any length of time. Right, so, okay, we'll put that in there. Right, now, the odds of me predicting a card are 52 to 1, bringing 4 people together. What are the odds? Almost as if I got it planned, mate. Almost as if I might have vaguely done this before. Are those glasses of any use, or did they simply come with the shirt? Now, man at the back. The odds of 4 people coming together and finding a card are something in the region of 10,000 to 1, but don't worry, trust me, I used to work for the council. Now, there are 2 colours in a suit of cards. There are red cards and black cards. Do you want us to use the red ones or the black ones? Red. You want us to use the red ones? Okay. Coming down here to the man who is still not 100%. Oh, no, there's no need to move forward, my friend. No, you stay where you are. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, and I'm doing it. Right. There are 2 red, did you say? Yep. 2 red suits, clubs and spades. Ha! See what I did there? It's as funny as this bit gets. Hearts and diamonds. Which one would you like? Hearts. Diamonds it is. I'm trying my best, really. So you want hearts. Okay, we're going to come over here. Mind the person. I want you to tell us, you're going to be the heart. Handsome boy, you're going to be the heart. Man in the press office is just not used to being the centre of attention. Do you want us to use odds or evens? Are you sure with that? Were you just guessing there, mate? Are you sure? Odds, right. Red, completely free choice. Heart, free choice. Odd.
As in your choice.
Yeah, you noticed, you see, it got a good laugh and then you interjected and it just went anyway. I still think the gag about taking your work for not for very long is very funny. I've used it a couple of times now, to be honest. And each time I've used it, people have gone, oh! Oh, dear, I've done it again. I must apologise. Take it out my fee. Ooh. Right. Oh, no, first class on the train. If you look on my Twitter, if you look at my Twitter...
Don't get that wrong.
That does happen. Believe me, the words weren't fully formed. Right. You will know what my breakfast was like. I shall be taking pictures of tea when we have it in a little while. One of the odd value hearts, yes? Still here, son. Name one of the odd value heart cards. 3. And now name another one. 5, okay? Press board. 3 and a 5. Which one do you want? 3 or the 5 of hearts? 5. 5 of hearts. Impossible to predict, yes?
It is impossible to predict. I will now do a rope trick. Yes. It has been lovely spending time with you. Quite lovely. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you for staying awake. You know who you are. Although it's difficult to fall asleep when you're standing up. One card the wrong way round in all of these. The 5 of hearts. Thank you very much.
Steve Evans, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.